Going everyone, VenomousStare here, bringing you Starcraft 2, 2 versus 2. 2v2 is a game type that I think is more exciting than 1v1, certainly more dynamic. And 1v1 is pretty much what you see played exclusively. I really like to cast 2v2. This is pretty high level 2v2, and it's fun to watch. It's on the map Sludge City, which is the best 2v2 map. It favors consistent macro play, but also you can cheese on it if you really want to. It's not like a map like Fields of Death, which is really terrible for cheese play. So this is a versatile, good map. Spawning in the top left of Sludge City is the red team, the Out Now clan. Elusive Smoke, huge fan of C-Jet Galsy, loves to cannon rush. And Savagewood, who prefers bio-macro play usually. Dagoth, who will henceforth be referred to as Dagonoth because after playing RuneScape and doing all those Slayer tasks, it just looks too much like Dagonoth not to call him Dagonoth. And then Paul Atreides? Paul Atreides? I'll probably just call him Paul. I don't really know why people make their BattleNet names, as we see an attempted cannon rush for Elusive Smoke. But there's too much going on in my opinion. He's trying to go for a wall here. He fucks it up like an idiot, and his probe dies. So that was pretty horrific to watch. But you can see what he was trying to do there, wall himself in, maybe even cancel this one after the wall in, and then put a cannon behind the mineral line. He has a backup though. Paul's going to pull everything. He can cancel, he does. He cannot get the rewall, not even close. Paul knew it was up. And Elusive Smoke does not have a third probe. So a failed cannon rush there for Elusive Smoke. He's just going to expand, and Paul's going to see it. So this Paul Atreides guy, he's really winning the early game. As we see, Dagonoth is taking expansion on the low ground at the gold, as well as making a second barracks. He has a Reaper on the way to the red team's base. Savagewood has already started his own CC. It is about the same, timing-wise, as Dagonoth's, but the fact that it's on the high ground makes it where Dagonoth is ahead. Savagewood doesn't have a single unit to deal with this. This reactor will finish. He'll be able to pump 2 Reapers if he wants to, but his CC is delayed. So Dagonoth gets the advantage. There was an issue here where we called for pause, and the Dagonoth guy wouldn't pause for like even 5 seconds, and he was just like just so he could try to get more kills with his Reaper. I mean, really, what a piece of shit this guy was, and he almost loses his Reaper after doing that. Pure garbage. The etiquette in 2v2 is to abide by short pauses, just like in 1v1. 3v3 and 4v4, I would say the etiquette's different, but 2v2, I think, with only 4 people in the game, if someone wants to pause for a couple seconds, you should let it happen. Certainly if there's a Reaper, if you're harassing with a Reaper. So 2 Zealots come out for Paul. Paul's also getting 2 more gates. So it looks like Paul's going to be favoring kind of an aggressive warp gate play. We can see he's chrono boosting warp gate. So this is indicative of some early aggression. Meanwhile, Dagonoth is favoring lots of early barracks. And this fast gold base will it'll be an absurd asset for Dagonoth. He's going to get lots of income off of it. Elusive Smoke scouts 1 pylon, so he should be able to if someone hides a pylon in your base, you can deduce that there's a pylon somewhere else in your base, and Elusive Smoke sees that probe go in his base, so everything about that screams, hey, he's trying to sneak a pylon in my base. But usually what that means is someone's trying to sneak a pylon in your base, and then they're just going to try to warp in fast units off of it. To me, this kind of indicates a warp gate rush or warp gate pressure. So whenever you see a pylon tucked away like that, you should be wary of others in your base. And I don't think Elusive Smoke has figured this out yet. So the Out Now clan have a little cannon contingency set up at the front door, but Elusive Smoke couldn't figure out that pylon, and now he's being attacked in his main. He's going to start losing units here. He was ahead in probes. Savage Wood sends 2 Marauders with slow up. That's actually very helpful versus Stalkers. The Marauders severely inhibit the Stalker's ability to micro, which is really the biggest asset of Stalkers in the early game. They're a unit that can kite and harass around with ease. So Elusive Smoke, not at a probe lead anymore, but if you compare him to the other Protoss who has expanded, but is still foregating very hard, he's about even. Meanwhile at the front door, Dagannoth used his gold base advantage to pressure out a few units. Marines with stem took down 1 cannon. The Mothership Corps for Elusive Smoke has been dealing with this nonsense in his main, as well as the Marauders of Savage Wood. Elusive Smoke really, he has 78 supply, lots of pylons behind his mineral line, and here, you always want to have a pylon by your gold so you can photon overcharge, especially against someone who makes lots of adepts. This 1 cannon will be useful, partially because it's a detector too. That's a very underrated factor, so it will ward off observers and Dark Templar. Elusive Smoke is going to put down more cannons at the front door as he loses workers to adepts. The Out Now clan have not figured this out. This is on the cusp of their vision. And sometimes with adepts it is a little bit harder to figure out where you're getting attacked from. Because, oh, what if he walked them from over here up to here and shaded in? But Dagannoth ran forward and killed lots of structures there, mainly cannons that were building. He's going to run forward now and stem. Elusive Smoke is going to come with the Mothership Corps. Savage Wood with the heavy bio mix, and the heavy bio mix wins out. Savage Wood has combat shields. Elusive Smoke is starting Blink. He does not have many probes at this point though. He's been harassed severely, down to 9 probes. Adepts, of course, 2-shot workers whenever you have, or they 2-shot workers, so when you have 2 of them, they 1-shot workers, similar to Banshees. So Elusive Smoke really getting worked over there. And if we go to units and income, this game is pretty much a 2v1, so Savage Wood is going to have to pick up the slack, because Elusive Smoke has just taken too much damage. That is one thing about harassed-based warp gate aggression, is if you do lose workers, even if you can seemingly produce enough stuff to hold the aggression, you're so far behind because of all the workers you lost that you just lose to a follow-up push. Savage Wood is clearing out the towers, he's doing what he can, but Dagannoth has a significant force. Savage Wood stems forward. Dagannoth has a lot more Marines than Savage Wood, but Savage Wood does a little sandwich here, and he'll attack a bit from the high ground, but overall the Marauders will out-DPS these Marines. Lots of action here. Savage Wood takes a tower, tries to win himself a moment of respite, but more adepts going into the base of Elusive Smoke. Elusive Smoke has lost a ton of workers. If we go to units lost, almost all workers, I would say, he's lost. And he's having a lot of difficulty here, going back into the single digits on workers. Savage Wood is trying to help him, dropping Marauders. Elusive Smoke helps himself a little bit there with an overcharge, but Dagannoth has a lot of workers. He's producing mass barracks units, so he's trying to go for a quick kill here, churning out 10 Marines at a time. He's so eager to win and so aggressive and confident that he's not even taking the time to add these add-ons. He's kind of sensed that the Out Now clan is very behind. This constant adept harassment, this pylon's still not being cleared out. This constant adept harassment has been very strong, and it's very difficult to deal with if you don't wall. Savage Wood with the little drop, trying to get his team back into things, doing what he can. Puts a little bit of focus on the Cybernetics Core, but then stems forward, searches for the units instead, and at home Savage Wood's losing severely to Dagannoth, but Elusive Smoke kicks in his Photon Overcharge. Savage Wood, with the help of Photon Overcharge, will defend. Savage Wood killed what he could, a few adepts, but then he loses the 1 medevac, but meanwhile he's also dropping up top. So Savage Wood bringing both players to one location and then bringing them apart with multitask. He kills a reactor, which is a very big deal because Dagannoth at this point, That aggressive push didn't work because of the drops. It was barely held because of the photon overcharge. So now he has to decide, do I keep pushing or do I make add-ons? A lot of players will become stuck in this style and they won't really be focused enough to make add-ons or start upgrading. They'll just think, hey, he has so few workers, I can kill him. If I just keep attacking, I can kill him. On the contrary, we see Savagewood has swapped over his Starport to a reactor. He's getting medevacs, which will be useful because Elusive Smoke has some zealots. Or I venture to guess will make some zealots, considering he's on such low econ. But more importantly, Savagewood has started these double upgrades. He also has a third. Although Dagannoth has a ton of income. And he's pushing forward with another huge bio army down low. Finally, the Out Now clan discovers this pylon. Elusive Smoke now has a handful of Blink Stalkers, so these will be somewhat useful at focusing down medevacs if those ever come out on the field. Lots of forces for Dagannoth. Savagewood might have to be careful. He has a lot of Marauders, though. Marauders trade very well against Marines. Dagannoth does not even have combat shields yet. That's how aggressive he's been playing. Paul Ares, or Arides, has been making adepts as well. Lots of aggressive early game units here for the blue team. Savagewood has medevacs this time though, as well as Marauders. Photon overcharge going down, but the blue team has a ton of stuff. An absolute plethora of units. Savagewood has a lot of medevacs though, so each one of his units almost have their own individual healer, which is helping him tremendously along with Photon Overcharge. And Paul is continuing to attack, doesn't have his infamous reinforcement pylon anymore, and with the help of all those medevacs, the Out Now clan barely holds. Savage would even focus firing the mothership core down after. He wants to drop immediately after that. Savagewood loads a medevac full of units, and it looks as though if we follow the waypoint that's going to go into the main, but he flies right across the tower. So the blue team is a little bit aware of that if they caught that. Dagannoth stems forward. He has a ton of units. Savagewood, his 1-1 is finished. Savagewood stems, and if we look at the mothership core of Elusive Smoke, it does not have the energy it needs to overcharge. And suddenly, without the overcharge, Savagewood has to back up here. Elusive Smoke really doesn't have anything in the way of units. He's rebuilt some gates. He's getting storm, but he has the money. He should have built zealots. I think these warp gates were really what he was relying on. Now that they're finishing, he should be able to add some of his own stuff in. Elusive Smoke might even lose his mothership core here. Savagewood has a few Marauders pop out, and he sniped this base over here. He cancelled it. So, the blue player, Paul, as well as Dagannoth, had to pull back a little bit there to try to defend the potential drop in the main. As we can see, Dagannoth did just that after seeing the drop over here. Savagewood's medevacs are healing Elusive Smoke zealots, which chased off a few pesky Marauders. But Dagannoth is just continuing to produce bio, aggressively mind you. And Dagannoth potentially should lift to this gold and start to try to get income. Players who stick on these dedicated bio pushes often will just lift their main up even to a gold usually if available. The Out Now clan has a PF here. Savagewood is mining with many mules over at this gold. He also has a fourth. But Elusive Smoke has established a nice little foothold at the top of this ramp. He has a combat cannon coming, 2 of them in fact, and he has his mothership core ready to charge. Now Dagannoth has been very focused on breaking this ramp. He's not aware of the gold base over here. Nor are the Out Now boys aware of all these bases Dagannoth has, as well as Paul. Paul over here has taken a third. Wow, he morphs in 8 Archons. Those are going to pack a punch. He has Adepts 2 and +1. So Paul has been upgrading a little bit better. If we go to upgrades, Elusive Smoke, potentially I would say doing the best. He has +2 in Storm. Savagewood has 2 as well as 1 for his vehicles, but he also has the all-important infantry upgrades. Elusive Smoke suicides his mothership core for really no reason there, and that was going to be very important to the hold, but a big storm going down. It's hard to push up a ramp with a bulky army and to storm another big storm going down. So Dagannoth without medevacs, He's dedicated so much to this bio play, while Savagewood was teching up and upgrading, barely able to hold one push after the other. And now Dagannoth is at a disadvantage because Savagewood has a plethora of medevacs and is going to stem when Dagannoth isn't looking and start to attack and stem forward. And his upgrade advantage really does damage to the Protoss there because the Protoss was also not very well upgraded. And that much bio, especially with this many Marauders, whenever you have a 3 upgrade advantage, you really do work. Dagannoth has a ton of economy, but he's had trouble transitioning his economy into actual macro leads. He's about to get his medevacs finally. Hey, calm down. But Savagewood has such an upgrade advantage, he's going to be able to win this fight. Dagannoth's still at 0-0. He started his upgrades, sure, but it doesn't matter. Savagewood mows him down. Elusive Smoke has high temps. Now the Out and Out clan do not know about these side bases, but they might just break the main and it not even matter. Dagannoth has his add-ons finally, but his macro was a little bit out of control while he was trying to get that push done. And sometimes when players become myopically focused on killing their opponent instead of macroing appropriately, that can happen. If you think that you're so far ahead that you can push and win, as we see Dagannoth tries to snipe these high temps but doesn't really succeed. Like I was saying, Dagannoth just became so focused on going for that killing blow, he wasn't really macroing appropriately, upgrading behind it, making add-ons. Savagewood, there he goes, stems forward, and Dagannoth is going to pull SCVs to try to defend as the coalition of the red team attack the third of Paul. But Paul is in trouble because Savagewood's Marines are 2-2. He has a lot of medevacs, and he's on this high ground. He can pretty much fight endlessly with Dagannoth. Dagannoth has the better economy but the inferior upgrades, and the third base gets crushed by the Speed Zealots. Hey, relax. Savagewood's going to clean up the gold base as well, and he's going to drop back here in the gold, so Savagewood really cutting the main to pieces, and Elusive Smoke has even mixed in DTs. He's taken his third. He's done what he can to get back in the game, and he's going to break Dagannoth here because these Speed Zealots are well upgraded. They have 3 attack. They're just going to watch this. This is going to be crazy. And the DTs as well. So Dagannoth is going to GG. He's been out upgraded and out macroed, simply put. Although he did have lots of income down here. And the Out and Out clan holds and holds and holds and holds and then wins. So if you enjoyed and you want to see more StarCraft 2, subscribe. It's free.